RedZoneSports.bet, the British home of American sports.
The Pittsburgh Steelers, the Baltimore Ravens, both 2-1, both coming off a defeat. These two teams first got it on in 1996. Pittsburgh leads the all-time series 26-21. You see these two teams, Mike, and you know it's such a series over time that has been defined by the defense.
Oh yeah.
And and then coming into last week, it was defined by the defense. But then Baltimore let the Jags get away with a big number, and the Pittsburgh doesn't shut down the Chicago Bears.
I figure that flight back from London for Baltimore, in their minds, lasted about 130 hours.
Yeah.
That was going to be a long ride. And normally at the start of the year, people say, like, what games are you looking forward to? And I always circle Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, because they're always good games. This year, I don't know. The problem the problem is largely down to injury, strangely enough. Both quarterbacks, we know Joe Flacco's got back problems, and he does not look even like Joe Flacco from before his knee injury.
Yep.
And Ben Roethlisberger doesn't have any declared injuries, but he also doesn't really look like Ben Roethlisberger. Le'Veon Bell isn't injured, but he was late arriving. For the Ravens, Brandon Williams was out last week. I'm not sure how, whether he's going to play. I suspect he will. But Brent Urban got hurt right at the beginning of the game. That was two of their starting three down linemen were out of that game. And that's a problem for them if Williams doesn't come back, because he really, at the nose tackle, he is the key to everything that happens in their defense, in the same way that Javon Hargrave is for Pittsburgh. You got probably the two best nose tackles in the league now in this game. So if you really like watching defense, watch those two guys over the center.
People ask about, when they talk about defenses, are these guys, the formations that they run on the defensive side, is that a big deal for you when you look at what Baltimore, their defensive set, Pittsburgh's, their defensive sets?
They're both 3-4 teams, basically. And, the way the NFL has gone in the past years, most 3-4 teams wind up playing an awful lot of time in what you'd call a hybrid defense, where it looks sometimes like a 4-3 or a 4-2 with a nickel formation. They tend to stay pretty much in that 3-4 alignment. And there's flexibility because Suggs, Suggs as a linebacker is in effect a defensive end if they want to use him that way. And he's at 35, he's still a good player. But I was surprised last week watching Jacksonville kill Baltimore on passes over the middle in front of their linebackers. Because if you're going to play a 3-4 and your inside linebackers are dropping back into the coverage, they can't drop all the way back if they can't come up, and they weren't coming up. They were sitting back, letting the catches be made, and that hurt them a lot. And Pittsburgh could drive them crazy with that because they've got receivers who will come over the middle. Even Antonio Brown, for example, will work the middle of the field. And if you ask sort of what the difference in the game would be, because you've got fairly similar teams, losing Marshall Yanda made Baltimore's offensive line into a question mark, and Jacksonville attacked that right guard position. Two different guys were playing it. They attacked both of them with success. Pittsburgh's fairly solid on the offensive line. Not great, but okay. Pittsburgh's got the home run threat in Antonio Brown. They've got the big runner in Le'Veon Bell. And, if you believe that star players deliver, and Antonio Brown has delivered almost every week, gives Pittsburgh the edge.
I mean, you think this could be the game for Le'Veon Bell? Comes in averaging 3.5 yards a carry, plus also the fourth week that he is back. You talk about the Baltimore Ravens having problems along their defensive line, that maybe this could be the coming out party for Bell this season.
If I'm Pittsburgh, that's probably the first thing I want to check out. I want to run him a few times. I want to run him outside, maybe get him the ball in some space and see how Baltimore is coping with that. Because, he started out looking not quite Eddie Lacy-esque, but he wasn't in playing shape when he came in and signed, and he's probably worked his way into that now.
The Pittsburgh Steelers having problems with their safeties. One or both of them could be missing. Baltimore, can they take advantage of that lack of back there?
They can, but they have to be a little bit creative about it. What we saw against Jacksonville is Mike Wallace down the sideline. Mike Wallace down the sideline. If you want to work the safeties, you've got to go over the middle of the field, because you're going to have the cornerbacks, otherwise you're going to pick it up. And to be honest, the Jags got away with a little bit of interference, small-scale interference against long passes, but you have to kind of expect that the way the NFL is played now, and you've got to be more creative. I think it's something that Baltimore's offense just didn't seem to have last week. I was amazed at how little different they tried during the course of the game.
When we saw that Pittsburgh, they were shocked by the Chicago Bears in overtime. Baltimore got drilled by Jacksonville. So you're looking for a team to respond. Which team do you see responding in this week coming up with the win?
I think the bigger difference in play might be Baltimore because they were so atrocious. You know, they can't get worse. The positive thing for them is that Chicago is a good defensive team, especially up front. If they've got their people back up front, they might be able to do some of the same things to Pittsburgh that the Bears did. Chicago also was a running team, and it was Jordan Howard, Terry Cohen who won that game. It wasn't Mike Glennon at quarterback. So if Terrence West and Buck Allen can do the same thing, but you look at Terrence West, Buck Allen, you don't think Jordan Howard, Terry Cohen. But that's where, if they're going to win the game, that's what they got to do.
Yeah, that Baltimore and Pittsburgh should be a great one.
RedZoneSports.bet, the British home of American sports.
Hey, thanks for watching SportsHeads. Don't forget, you can subscribe to us on YouTube, but you can also hit us on Twitter, Instagram. We would love to hear from you. We're trying to take the program from next level to next level to next level. Enjoy.